So, as I will be the first speaker, I will also have to keep the time, and now I think I can share my presentation. Is it possible? Yep. Okay, I think that part of it on the screen is maybe, okay. I hope you can see. Okay, then I start. I'm not a researcher. I'm also working for the French Ministry of Ecological Transition, and I'm also a funder of research. And within my everyday job, one of my functions is also to look for money to fund research actions and to optimize the usage of those research for end users, for stakeholders and practitioners in the field. And I would like also to share with you today some reflections that we may have had at national, European and international level about perspectives that are appearing today about how we can fund more efficiently research on infrastructure and biodiversity topics. First of all, I will give you a first vision on the evolution of research in infrastructure and biodiversity, and I will also give more details on current funding issues and what could be upcoming perspective in upcoming years. Just a short reminder, the research on infrastructure and biodiversity started by the middle of the 70s, maybe just before. The oldest fauna passages were erected in France by the end of the 50s, beginning of the 60s, but clearly it remained during a long time a question of civil engineering. And the first conference that where I found it took place in Europe, it was in 1984, 1985. It was in Strasbourg. We had also road and fauna passage, and this question of road, it's also the central place for knowledge on many actions on infrastructure and biodiversity. But step by step, since the 70s, more and more knowledge has been developed on other kind of infrastructure. And one of the main challenges is also to be able to develop a common tree of knowledge among different kinds of infrastructure on how we can go beyond only roads, but also have a more integrated vision of infrastructure and their relation to environment as a whole. At an international scale, this question raised up only very recently. The first vision that we had really consolidated was by 2018 during the COP14 conference in Egypt. And at this time, for the first time, under the umbrella of United Nations, it was also the question to merge the approach of all kinds of infrastructure and their relation to biodiversity. It was, as I know, the first occasion where we break also the silo between knowledge between different roads, highways, waterways, but also to put all infrastructure in the same approach for protecting biodiversity. And since 2018, this reflection also progressed, and by March 2nd this year, there was also a resolution adopted by the United Nations highlighting the need also to develop more sustainable and resilient infrastructure. And this resolution was also very important for our topic of funding research, because within this document you can have a look on the need to raise awareness, but to raise also knowledge on those questions. Even if the word research doesn't appear, we have also the expression of needs to coordinate really the knowledge at a global level on this question. Really, we need also to go beyond what has been done since decades and to change our mind into a more different approach. Clearly, our topic, infrastructure and biodiversity, is at a cross-border between research and application, infrastructure and environment. And what is challenging, it's also how we can find ways to break silo. It's a green dot in the middle, and we have to face several challenges: dispersion of actors, lack of strategic governance. We need also to develop tools to develop an holistic approach And as it was said by the second plenary speaker on Tuesday, we need also to develop robust and replicable research tools to reinforce their usability by end users. And also, it's also the main aim of INA conference, we need also to capitalize on knowledge and support a rise in generality to be more four-wheel drive applicable, to avoid standalone research or standalone study that is only usable in one place. Really, we need also to think a bit different from what has been done until recently. Just to give you about money, okay, now we'll speak about serious things. Here it represents, the red dot represents more or less what is invested every year on infrastructure. We have more than $3 billion invested on infrastructure at a global scale. This is a huge amount. It's almost impossible to understand. By 2040, there will be more than, it's an estimation of OECD, between 75 and 94 billions of dollars that will be invested, trillions of dollars that will be invested on infrastructure. This is an annual scale. For annual scale, what does environmental impact assessment on environmental work represent every year? It's more or less $150 billion. So 5% of investment on infrastructure. And now, if we have a look on biodiversity, it represents $50 billion a year. But it's mostly it's also dedicated to mitigate and to studies and also the part of research. Where is it? I put a small dot, but even it would be in the line. The dot doesn't exist, really. And the research place is really challenging. We have more studies than research, and we can go beyond this challenge. It's really a huge challenge to be faced, because research has also the opportunity, the capacity to have a systemic impact. And we have really to think in a systematic way and not on a specific topic. I will not remind what was said on Tuesday about the huge wave of infrastructure and about the huge amount of investment, about the tsunami that we are facing. But really, every international organization now are looking how to deal with biodiversity and how they can integrate this into their everyday job. And for that, they are not so well equipped, and they are really trying to invent, to recreate things from scratch, and step by step, they realize that they have to work together. And all those organizations, OECD, G20, UNEP, PRQIC, and investment banks under the umbrella of the Sustainable Infrastructure Foundation, but also IPBES and IPCC are trying also to develop tools to optimize that knowledge. But international organizations for research like INA, Ecological, CBIV, ACLI, ANET also have a key role to play at a global level to coordinate this knowledge. We have really to optimize our knowledge within the whole infrastructure life cycle, not only on the field approach, and also the funding phases are also very critical. We have really to improve the data production. Legal researches that are really a critical point for stabilization and avoiding risks for everybody, infrastructure operators, but also for protecting nature. The economical models that does deal with biodiversity needs also to be really much more developed. It's really hard to find environmental economists able to bring valuable reflection on this question, and I would be eager to meet environmental economists if some are here, but it's really a challenge, because if we have to manage huge amount of money, we need also people able to understand what is behind, and also the capitalization of knowledge. It's really important to bring the subject of biodiversity protection as far as upstream as possible in the decision-making process. we do not need to wait the latest phases of this life cycle. So here are some take-off messages that I wanted to also to share with you. Clearly, if we want to optimize this investment on research and infrastructure in biodiversity, we have to involve every funders, not only ministries like mine, but also private companies that needs also have to play a key role within a long-term approach. We have also to develop cross strategies, develop robust and replicable research, develop also, as I said, economical models and optimizing data. Data are really something that is really weak today, and we need also to improve them, and we need for sure to capitalize on what has been done. So thank you. I just spend some few more seconds on it. So thank you. I stay for questions.
Thank you. So there's a lot there that we need to do, Yannick.
Yeah.
What would be the top one or two? If we can only do one or two things really well, which ones of those would you want to do?
Yeah, this slide I didn't put into my presentation, but here you have a global view on funding on infrastructure on infrastructure, and for sure the economical approach of infrastructure and biodiversity should be the main priority. We need also to work with international organizations to develop this topic, because within the decision process, the key steps are really in the first one, when we have to decide how to invest. When we are building infrastructure, we have the cost of the death, we have the cost of sparing time, we have many economical issues that are really well established. But for biodiversity, it's also almost a challenge to estimate what is the cost. For climate change, we have also the cost for 1 ton of carbon, but it's also hard to have equivalent for 1 ton of frogs or any other animals that can be done. So, and it's really a way also to be within the decision-making process, to be more involved, and not only to stay on the field. Field is fundamental, but we need also, if we want to be in touch with decision makers, real decision makers, we have to speak the same language as them, and to speak things that they are able to understand about money. And the other side, it's also legal issues, because, for example, in France this week, the highest place for decision for legal decision also said that we have absolutely to take environment into account into decision. It was also the end of a long process where politicians didn't take their responsibility, but at the end the legal entities also said you have to take environment into authorities. So we have really to optimize this part of the environment of infrastructure and biodiversity relation, because it's really fundamental. We have to, when people are willing also to create infrastructure that is totally fundamental for our society, for symbiosis for every day, we need also to not to have something that can be movable, or we have to be very clear. And at least, I will speak at European scale, we have it's really difficult also to have some homogeneity between countries, and within countries there may be also challenges to apply. Those two questions of research have to be highlighted, but also capitalization of knowledge is fundamental. And what you are doing in Australia is great.
I'm not sure that it's anything other than you just said. It's just the capitalization of species, a ton of frogs or a rare otter or something. How do you present it to the developers, but also to the decision makers?
It's really a very relevant challenge, and I will speak at French level for this time. We are really trying to work with economists on this question about decision process, how it can be integrated. But we also highlighted this question when we proposed to the European Commission to go deeper in this topic. When we are speaking today, there are different initiatives that are actually managed by one by OECD on the Blue Dot network about what can be done, what can be the standard in the economy for environment. And biodiversity is not in their main scope, but we have also the TNFD, Task Force on Natural Disclosure, that is also working on standards on what can be done for biodiversity. So there are some really international initiatives, but when I'm following the discussion, what is also underway, I think that we need also to reinforce really the part of biodiversity, because when we are talking about infrastructure environment, it's 99% climate change and maybe 1% biodiversity. And we have to recalibrate this. And what we propose to European Commission, I hope it will be funded after the Bison project, it's also really to focus on rebalancing biodiversity and climate change. But we need both. We need to tackle both. But we need also to invest a bit more in biodiversity, because I think it's a more holistic and the more challenging part of the question. So, Christy, I think the time is over.